Hey, listeners, there's a new true crime podcast from Wondery that you should check out. It's called Killer Psyche. If you're a true crime fan, then you know that there are lots of true crime stories out there. When we watch them on TV, read about them in the news, and of course, we listen to them on podcasts. In the aftermath of these stories, we're often left asking ourselves why. Was it about power, ego, revenge, sex? What makes people like that tick? Most of the time, there isn't a satisfying answer. Until now. In every episode of Killer Psyche, former FBI criminal profiler Candice DeLong dissects the thoughts and motivations of the most infamous felons in history. She's been in the business for over 50 years and has sat across the table from hundreds of criminals. She's spent enough time inside their heads to know how they think and why they do what they do. Candice unravels the psychology and instincts of America's most complex and disturbing figures, including high-profile cases that she personally worked on, like the Unabomber, a case where a murderer's bombs killed 3 people and severely injured 20 more over the course of 17 years, and other cases like Christopher Duntsch, who's better known as Dr. Death. In this case, she uses her training and experience to help us understand what was going on inside his head. Was he delusional or a cold-blooded killer? I'm about to play you a preview of Killer Psyche. While you're listening, follow Killer Psyche on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or you can listen to new episodes early and ad-free by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app.
Lee Passmore was a middle-aged man who lived in Plano, Texas. He'd been suffering from chronic lower back pain for years when his doctor recommended that he see a new neurosurgeon in town. Passmore's pain radiated from his lower back down his legs, and he was very anxious to get the problem fixed. With the recommendation from his current doctor, Passmore felt he was in good hands. So, in December of 2011, when the neurosurgeon suggested spinal surgery to fix the problem, Passmore checked into the hospital both relieved and very hopeful. He thought the surgery was going to leave him feeling better. Instead, the doctor who operated on him made it worse. After only a few minutes, it became clear to everyone in the operating room that the surgeon, Dr. Christopher Duntsch, was butchering Lee Passmore. There was so much blood in the incision area that the doctor assisting him later said it looked like, and I quote, Dr. Duntsch was fishing in a pond at night. Another doctor in the operating room, Dr. Hoyle, demanded that Duntsch step aside and stop what he was doing. Duntsch actually responded, I'm operating by feel, not by sight. Thankfully, Hoyle intervened anyway and stepped between Duntsch and his patient, who by now was losing lots of blood. Hoyle was able to stop the bleeding and stabilize Passmore. But there was a problem. When Lee woke up in the intensive care unit, he felt like his back and legs were on fire. When his family came to visit, they could hear him screaming down the hall as they got off the elevator. The disc in his lower spine had been destroyed. Lee Passmore would never have feeling in his feet again. You may not have heard the name Christopher Duntsch, but you may know him by his nickname, Dr. Death. The first time I heard about this case was when I learned of the butchery he exacted on Lee Passmore. But that wasn't even Duntsch's most shocking outcome. After the Passmore tragedy, Duntsch went on to botch more than 20 surgeries. Very few of his patients would be healed or even helped at all. Nearly every one of them would be left with permanent damage, and by damage, I mean chronic pain or a lasting disability. 2 of them would die. So, knowing what we know now, let's look back and see what motivated Duntsch. There are clues as to who Christopher Duntsch became from simply looking at his early years. Stories from his friends and family help piece together how he got there and how and why it all went so wrong. What do we know about his early years? Dunch grew up in Memphis in a deeply religious home. His mom was a teacher, his dad was a physical therapist, and a missionary. Dunch attended a private Christian academy and was accepted to college on a football scholarship. He wanted to be a big football star, a linebacker, the handsome football player who everyone admired and all the girls swooned over. He had his sights set on Division I. In the Dr. Death podcast, host Laura Beale revealed Chris's friends did not think he had the talent to play Division I. But he was very stubborn and would not take no for an answer. He would run the same football drill over and over unsuccessfully. The coach just tried to help him do it right, but he couldn't do it right. He actually thought if he worked hard enough, he'd be successful. Chris wasn't delusional in the clinical sense of the term, but he was very determined, and he apparently thought that physical perseverance would triumph over the need for skill and talent. Of course, it didn't. To say the least, Chris had a very well-defended ego. He never wanted to hear anything less than praise. When a friend was teasing him that he wasn't any good at wrestling, Dunch got in his car and drove over to his friend's house and challenged him to a wrestling match right there on the front lawn. And he lost. It seems to me that Chris took even the slightest criticism like a knife to the heart and would do anything to prove that the person that said it was wrong. But status and even the veneer of success was clearly important to him from a very young age. When he was cut from the football team, his dreams of becoming a football star faded away. He turned his attention to his fallback, becoming a doctor. Follow Killer Psyche on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or you can listen to new episodes early and ad-free by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app.